Hey everyone, good morning or afternoon, depending on what time you're watching this. Welcome to Karen's Journey. My name is Karen, and this is a channel dedicated to a health journey that I started almost a year ago. September 5th will be 1 year that I decided to get really serious about losing weight, about healing my body, and just getting off prescription meds and just feeling better, moving my body, doing things because I felt so much older than I feel like I should have felt. Was in constant pain, achiness. So I got serious. I decided it was time to get serious and figure this thing out. So I started intermittent fasting was the very first thing I did. Also limited carbs and sugar intake. And then around January of this year, I decided to go more carnivore and tried to even eliminate carbs and sugar. And I've done that for the most part with my meals, but sometimes I've indulged and had some. But anyway, so this is a channel dedicated to that journey. So if you go to the homepage, you can look back on all the videos I've done since March of this year. I started this channel in March, and then you can kind of get all caught up with the journey I've been on. If you're back and you are already subscribed to my channel, I appreciate your loyalty and that you're here with me again today. Okay, so today is September 1st. I will tell you that I did weigh myself yesterday and took measurements yesterday because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to weigh myself and take measurements this morning because I had the Zumba class. I try to weigh myself and take measurements at the same time when I do take those measurements and the weight. So I just wasn't sure if I'd have time this morning. So I did it yesterday. Okay. All is good. I'll just start by saying that. As of right now, all is good. What ended up happening, and I'm not going to show you like all the numbers and stand up and turn around and all that. I decided not to do that because I felt kind of awkward when I did it anyway. And I think it's just more important for you to hear more about how I feel versus the numbers anyway. So for the month of August, my challenge was to not step on the scale and to not take measurements and to focus on building muscle, which I was able to do all of that. And I think in my last video, I've talked about what I discovered when you shift your focus. For me, it was much better mentally, emotionally, and the whole thing. So I was able to also really tune into my body and see how it felt and eat according to that. If I felt hungry, if I didn't, I'm still tweaking that, I have to tell you. It's still ingrained in my brain that I need to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I can't tell you how much that is ingrained. Almost like I'm gonna be missing out on nutrients if I don't eat like that. It's kind of crazy. So we're gonna continue with that. But anyway, here's the numbers. Yesterday when I stepped on the scale, I had gained 2.4 pounds. I know, it's not like it's 20 pounds. It was 2.4 pounds. And all my measurements, I think except for one or two, had increased by 0.5 inches, by half an inch. The two that didn't increase, they just stayed the same. Those measurements stayed the same. Now, my husband thinks that's because I've built muscle. I don't know. I don't know how to measure that. So I hope that's the case. I mean, I will say My clothes don't fit any tighter. In fact, I thought I actually was seeing more lean areas. So I don't think it's fat, but I don't know. So any of you have any ideas, please feel free to leave me some comments, because it's kind of hard to figure this thing out. And try to stay in a place where I don't get obsessive about numbers. So I want to be really overall healthy in how I approach this, physically, emotionally, mentally. And I will tell you that when I saw that I gained 2.4 pounds, it kind of messed with my head a little bit at first. I struggled with that and said, just had to kind of keep pep talking myself. It's like, it's 2.4 pounds. Because immediately my mind went to, okay, so if I did this for another month and I gained another 2.4 pounds, now I'm upwards of 5 and 6 pounds up gaining. So I just saw the numbers going like that. And again, I just think that that's because the way we've been programmed about weight loss. So all throughout the day, I just kept trying to remind myself, okay, bring it down. Bring it into proper perspective, okay? I told you in my last video that I had indulged in desserts, so some processed carbs and some sugar over this month. And I'm guessing that may have contributed a bit to it. So it's hard, and it's hard because I don't want to track everything I eat either. I know some people do that, but I find that I get obsessive once I start tracking things like that, and I just really don't want to go down that road. I will tell you that for the whole month, I was thinking about this other YouTuber that I follow. I haven't talked about her in a while because I just don't feel like we're on the same path, but she's intermittent foodie, I think is the name of her channel. Anyway, so she always talks, I don't know if it's changed. I haven't watched her videos for a while, but she had talked in the past about how all she does is intermittent fast, 18 to 20 hours a day, I want to say. And then she opens up her feeding window and she eats whatever she wants. Like whatever, processed foods, carbs, it doesn't matter. She eats whatever she wants. And she lost a lot of weight just doing that. So that was kind of in the back of my mind for the month of August. So I did allow for some foods I wouldn't normally eat. And so I don't know. So, because I kept thinking, well, if she can do it, I should be able to do it. But that's, I think, where my failing is comparing. I can't compare my journey with someone else's journey. I have to listen to my own body. So I'm listening to my body. So I have some notes here, so I want to make sure I just don't jump ahead too quick. I talked about not wanting to track things. I'm going to cut out desserts. I also indulged in diet soda and some French fries once or twice a week. So that I think I need to cut out too, because I still have fat stores that I can see, right? I know they talk a lot about visceral fat, so there's some fat you can't see. So I think based on what I can see, I have another 25 to 30 pounds to lose. So that is based on information that has been collected over time with typical women of my height, and I think my age too. I think they go by age, like where I should land as far as my weight goes, what's a healthy weight. And I don't know if that's based on good science or not. So again, to try and put all of us in a box, I think is not healthy. But we need something, right? I think I need some type of gauge. So I'm still trying to figure that whole thing out, because I do know that I want to be at optimum health. I think what also helped me to kind of to not take a nosedive emotionally when I saw the numbers on the scale and on the tape measure. My husband and I went to our first Jeep event this past weekend. It was out in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Oh, and it was beautiful. If you've never been to that area, I encourage you to try and get out there and go and see the area. It's just beautiful. Anyway, it was a Jeep event, so they had vendors, and it was at a conference center. And then they also had vendors outside the conference center, and so it was really large. It was a large area of walking. We're interested in more overlanding and trail riding versus just having a pretty Jeep. I mean, it's all good, whatever your preference is, but this event was geared more for a pretty Jeeps, like really cool things on the outside of your Jeep. There were some. I think we saw one tent, and I don't think we saw any bed racks. We have a Gladiator, because our plan is to put a bed rack on the Gladiator and then mount a tent to the top of the bed rack, and then we're going to go out to areas that we just have not visited and seen yet in our own nation, and just explore with that and do different trails that are all across this country. So we're looking forward to doing that. So anyway, these events help us so that we can go and actually look at the equipment before we buy it. But like I said, this event, having never been involved in any of this, we didn't know what exactly this was going to be like. So it was, like I said, more for the outside of your Jeep, but we'd still go again because it was so much fun and the area is so beautiful. So anyway, all of that to say, the first day we got there, we got there like around 1:30. So they were already halfway through the day into the event, but that's okay. We ended up doing a lot of walking around, and we walked a good, I want to say close to 9,000 steps that day. And then the next day, we walked over 10,000 steps. So it wasn't it was only like a 3-day event. We didn't do the 3 days. The third day we actually ended up driving home. But they had a trail, which was so much fun to go on. Anyway, I had so much energy throughout the entire trip. I was not sore at all. In fact, the first day, we're walking through the conference center, through all the vendors, just checking out who's there. And my husband said to me, he says, okay, we had been there for, I don't know, a few hours at this point. And he turns to me, he's like, okay, I'm checking in. How are you feeling? I said, oh, I'm feeling great. He said, you're not sore. You don't need to stop and rest. I'm like, no, I feel great. Let's go. Let's keep going. Let's go outside. Let's look at some of the vendors outside. So he was a little shocked too, and he noticed the difference. So, and why that is because back in 2018, we had taken the kids to Vegas. And if you've never been to Vegas, or if you have been to Vegas, you know, there's a lot of walking around. There's a lot of walking in Vegas. So probably not quite as much here at this event we went to as there is in Vegas. But anyway, and then we also went over to the Grand Canyon, and I was a mess on that trip. I was in so much pain. I was so sore, achy. Asthma kicked in all the time. It was a great trip, but it was a difficult trip for me physically. This trip, not at all. Not at all. And it was hot. It was hot and humid, which I thought might trigger my asthma. Nothing. We were tired at the end of those 2 days, for sure. We slept good, but we were not achy and sore at all. And the energy level was just fantastic. So that's huge. That's huge for me. And I can't ignore that. For those of you who don't know, you may be new to this channel. I am not taking any prescription meds at this point. I'm 54 years old and I have none. I take Zyrtec for allergies. We have 3 cats. I'm allergic to cats. So I just keep up with that so that the allergies don't get out of control. Other than that, I don't take anything. I can't ignore any of that. So the numbers went up a couple of numbers on the scale. Oh, well. I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing. I am going to tweak it a little bit, like I said. So for the month of September, wow, almost said November. Ooh, slow down. For the month of September, I'm going to focus even more on fasting as close to 20 hours a few or more times a week. I don't think I need to do that every day. But again, it's listening to my body at the same time knowing that intermittent fasting, the longer you go, the more time you give your body to tap into those fat stores and use that for energy versus feeding it. And I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I've learned recently too, the whole ketosis thing, because that's really that's what's happening when your body taps into your fat stores. It's because you're in ketosis. We're not meant to stay in a constant state of ketosis, from what I understand. I just saw this video the other day. I forget who it was. It might be Anthony Chafee, I think, Dr. Anthony Chafee. I think so. He was interviewing somebody, and they were another doctor, and they were talking about how no, you don't want to keep. Might have been Dr. Sean Baker. You don't want to keep. Our bodies aren't meant to stay in that state constantly. It's meant to cycle in and out of it, and so. Again, it's important information so that you know what's healthiest for your body. So whenever we eat anything, our insulin level goes up, and that can bump you out of ketosis, which is fine. Now, how high your insulin level goes will determine how much time it's going to take to get it back down and get you back into ketosis. So that's why you have to be careful about what you eat. There are foods like carbs and sugars that will send your insulin way high and take a long time for that insulin to come back down. It'll take a long time for it to come back down, if you even come back down enough to get into ketosis. That's why eating things like whole foods, meat, eggs, whatever whole foods that you want to eat that don't have a lot of sugar and carbs in it. And interesting, speaking of sugar, I just saw a video by Dr. Eric Berg, and he was saying, the title of it was, "You may never want to eat fruit again after you watch this." And I just thought it was kind of fascinating because he was talking about even the natural sugar in fruit, which is fructose or fructose. I've heard it pronounced both ways lately. I always thought it was fructose, but what do I know? I'm not a doctor, just but anyway, even the natural sugar can increase your insulin to the point that it takes a long time for it to come back down and for you to go back into ketosis. So if you're eating a lot of fruit and you're not seeing results, that's why. Fruit has to be limited, if not eliminated. I know, it's weird. It's not what we've been told, but that's how it goes. Now, some people, they focus on just eating what is in season and what grows in their area. And I've heard they've had good results with that. Because that's kind of a natural limiter. You're not going to eat something all year long because it's being imported. You're going to eat it only if it's growing at that time. And so you have a short window to eat, which makes sense. So more information for you. Okay. All right. So the fasting, I want to try and see if I can keep it in ketosis for a little longer. And then, but if I'm hungry, like usually on Zumba days, I am hungry when I come home. I burn a lot of energy. Except for today, I wasn't super hungry. I haven't eaten yet, and it's almost 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I do plan on, I'll probably, after this, I'm probably going to make up some bacon and have some, and then I have a ribeye for dinner. So looking forward to that. All right, so fasting a little longer through the day. I am going to avoid desserts, diet soda, and French fries for this month. And here's why I say for this month. It will probably extend beyond this month, but I need to see if this will make a difference. I think it will. I don't think I need to wait to see, but I really do think it's going to make a difference. And here's the reason, because I now understand after this last month in August that I will be able to maintain a healthy weight. I now understand how to never go back to being 70, 75 pounds overweight. That won't ever happen again, because now I understand my body so much better. And that's exciting. However, like I said before, earlier here, I still have fat stores that I can see, so there's still weight to lose. So I need to tweak it for now and see how it goes. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to continue my exercise routine, which has been weightlifting and now Zumba. I try and do some yoga, and I do some Pilates core work. So we'll continue with that, and then continue to eat meat and eggs. That's the plan. So I think it'll be a good plan for September. Just continue to try and get outside too, and get some sunshine, because more and more studies are coming out and saying how healthy that is for us to be outside. Here we are again, been told that the sun's dangerous, stay out of the sun. But let me tell you, that's also, those studies, that information has also been found to be based on science that was instigated by organizations for money. So once again, it's just so disappointing sometimes when you realize that kind of thing goes on, because you're trusting people with your health, and then to find out that that's not what is at their best interest. I should say not their best interest. It's what's not their priority. Your best health interest is not their priority, no matter how much they tried to convince you it was. So we just have to keep learning and keep growing and keep listening to our bodies. I'll be back again and let you know how I'm feeling, let you know how I think it's going. I don't know if I will stay off the scale until the end of the month this month. I don't know, because I get too curious. I want to see if my plan is working. So I might step on the scale. I will tell you, I stepped on the scale this morning. I've already lost 1.5 pounds. So I've already lost 50% of what I gained in August. So that's why I say that, the scale, it's like, yeah, you gotta put it in perspective. Keep it in perspective. Try not to get discouraged. Carry on with what you've been learning, and hopefully I've been inspiring you to do your own research and to learn, and just be healthy. I so encourage you to get healthy. To not be in pain is amazing. And like I said, after this weekend, to not feel achy. I got home and it was several hours, a 6 or more hours drive, 6.5, I think it was. And normally that would wipe me out. I'd come home, I wouldn't unpack. I'd just sit on the couch and veg. And the next day I might veg even more. But that's not what happened. I got home. I'm like, okay, I can unpack. The next day, I did laundry. I did took care of some things, some errands and things I needed to do. It was amazing. It was just amazing. And I don't know if that sounds weird to some of you because you're like, well, of course. But that's not the way it's been for me. It just hasn't. So that's huge. That's a huge thing. And that's the types of things I want to continue to focus on. It's okay to take your measurements. It's okay to see what you weigh, but it's not the end all. It really isn't. In fact, I thought of another thing that Dr. Sean Baker had said at one point, because of how much he weighs. Now, he's over 6 feet tall, but because of how much he weighs, technically the scale or whatever he's using tells him that he's overweight because of where his BMI lands. He's not. I mean, you can look at the guy, he's not overweight, but he's got a lot of muscle. So that's what I mean. It's like, how do you really know? Maybe I hope that they're working on this and they'll come up with a way for us to really measure how much fat we have and what's not healthy. I don't know that there's much money in that, so that probably isn't going to be the case. So for now, we just have to understand what food does to our bodies, understand how it affects our bodies, and make adjustments so that we are at optimum health and just not in pain and have the energy to enjoy life. That's the plan. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining me again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know you're out there. And if you have any questions or ideas or thoughts about what I've shared here, feel free to share them. And I will respond. I promise you. All right, everyone. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.